And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And once again, I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday. So I got wrapped up with the football podcast, and we are now here discussing the World Series and some other things as well on today's show here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. So before we get into specifically what we will be talking about, besides the World Series, I just want to remind you guys, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that's streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that gets your comment recognized. It makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you, the viewer. And again, that makes you part of the show. That's really what it's all about, is the interacting between me and you guys. So what we have on tap for today is we will recap the World Series. I'll go through all the games because obviously, the last time we did a show, that was the day of the World Series. That was Game 1, and the World Series ended up only going 5 games. We'll go through all of them really quickly. And then in the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Corey Seager and Bruce Bochy and the achievements that they got from these playoffs, from the World Series, their milestones. We'll talk about that. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about the Silver Slugger Award finalists. We'll go through the list of the players that are up for that award for 2023. And then in the final part of the show, we're going to talk about the San Diego Padres and their money troubles and why that could lead to a possible trading of their star player Juan Soto. So that'll be to end the show, so you don't want to miss that. So let's get right into the first topic, which is talking about the Texas Rangers winning the World Series. The baseball season is now over. We have a world champion, and that is the Texas Rangers. And for the Rangers, listen, they finished off the regular season on a bad note. I mean, they choked the division to the Houston Astros. They were going up against the Rays. They finished at 90-72 on the season. Going into the playoffs, I mean, myself included, I took the Rays in that. I gave the Rangers a good chance, and the Rangers ended up sweeping them. They ended up sweeping the Orioles, which I said they could definitely upset the Orioles, and that happened. But then I had them losing to the Astros. I said the Astros would win in 7, and the Rangers ended up winning in 7. And then in the World Series, I wanted to give the Diamondbacks some respect. I wanted the series to go the distance, go 7 games, and the Rangers ultimately win it. But the Rangers won in 5 games. They looked like the much better team in this series against the Diamondbacks. After Game 2, where they lost 9-1, and then you lose Adolis Garcia and Max Scherzer, so in the same game pretty much. That was Game 3. You were a little nervous for Texas because Adolis Garcia has had a great postseason, and losing him that was going to be tough, and obviously Max Scherzer, that kind of leaves the rotation a little shorthanded. So then you figured maybe that this is a break the Diamondbacks needed to get back in this series, and that wasn't the case. The Rangers took the final 2 games, and they end up winning the World Series, and it's the first time in franchise history that they indeed did that. Because Max Scherzer. But the thing is, Max Scherzer actually pitched, he was pitching pretty well before he got hurt in the game that he pitched, and that was Game 3. He went 3 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned run, or 2 walks, 1 strikeout. He gave up no runs. The bullpen did its job. Adolis Garcia, like I said, he got hurt, an oblique injury. Scherzer was a back injury. But yeah, and the Rangers won the final game 5-0. So actually, we'll run through the games really quickly. So Game 1 was awesome. I mean, the Rangers were losing going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and the World Series MVP Corey Seager going up against Paul Sewald. He had a 2-run home run to tie the game, and then Adolis Garcia hit the walk-off home run, and the Rangers won the first game. So, you figure, okay, that was a game that they stole with their clutch hitting by their guys. And then game 2, the Diamondbacks dominated. Merrill Kelly pitched really well. They won 9-1. Tommy Pham went 4 for 4 in that game. Corbin Carroll went 2 for 5. So to me, after that game, I'm like, this series is going to go back and forth. Then Sunday was an off day. You go to game 3. Rangers pitched very well in that game. They won 3-1. I think Corey Seager hit a home run in this game? Yeah, he did. He hit a 2-run home run. That put them up 3-0. Diamondbacks only scored a run, so they lost 3-1. Then Rangers won. They were up 10-0 after the third inning, and that actually ended up being a final score of 11-7. So the Diamondbacks ended up making it close, but again, the Rangers, they were ahead by so much. It was too much to overcome. But they won that game. Andrew Heaney pitched well, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts. So they won game 4, and then game 5 they won 5-0. Nathan Eovaldi finished off the postseason going 5-0 with a 2.95 ERA. So you could have looked at him, and maybe he could have been the World Series MVP as well. Zach Gallen did pitch well himself in the game. He went 6 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, but again, the Rangers, they won that game. Paul Sewald, he gave up 4 earned runs in the 9th inning. So he was having a good postseason, and then you got to the World Series, and it just all fell apart. Let's actually look at his stats for the World Series. So in the World Series, he pitched in 2 games, 27 ERA he had, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs. Yeah, the opponent's batting average was 500. Because you go back to the League Championship Series, he had an ERA of 0 in 4 games. Didn't give up any runs. Well, yeah, 0. Earned run average is 0. Opponent's batting average was 77. You go back to the Division Series, he pitched to a 0 ERA. This year in the Division Series in 2 games, opponent's batting average was 143, and then in the wild card round it was 143 as well, and he also pitched to a 0 ERA in that as well. So yeah, I mean, he was great. And then you get to the World Series, and I mean, you give up the tying home run to Seager in game 1, and then the Rangers capitalized on his struggles in the 9th inning. In game 5, they put up 4 runs in the 9th inning, and that was it. And the Rangers win. And I did put out a short, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the Diamondbacks, because a lot of people doubted them. Really nobody gave them a chance to really get to this point, making the playoffs. At 84 wins, but listen, for me, I had them upsetting the Brewers, but I didn't expect them to sweep the Dodgers and then win games 6 and 7 in Philadelphia in the championship series. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable run for them. Obviously, the wheels kind of fell off here in the World Series. I mean, the Sewald didn't pitch well. Blowing game 1 was huge. I mean, the Diamondbacks could have been up 2-0 going back to Arizona. But yeah, what a great run for them. But they got nothing to be ashamed of. They got some good players moving forward that are their core, that are going to be a huge part of their future. I mean, Corbin Carroll, Rookie of the Year. He was great in these playoffs. And the trade they made with the Blue Jays, getting Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Christian Walker, and their pitching staff. I mean, Merrill Kelly, and of course Zach Gallen. So they got some pieces, of course, going into next year. This core. I shouldn't say the pieces, but the core they have going into next year. I think this team is still going to be a decent team moving forward. Coming in at 84 wins. Again, nobody really gave them a chance. And they, behind good pitching and clutch hitting in the playoffs, I mean, they got to this point. And, they should be a good team next year. Build off of this year. Now, again, they got hot at the right time. So obviously, like, we're way early, into the off season. So like, it's too soon to predict anything. But you figure this team should be back, in the playoffs next year. But we'll see. But as for the Rangers, I mean, congratulations to them. A lot of guys winning their first rings. Marcus Semien, Jordan Montgomery. All the young guys that they brought up during the season as well. Jacob DeGrom technically won a World Series this year, and he really didn't pitch that much. But guys that have been there that have won it already: Scherzer, Eovaldi, Chapman, Corey Seager, of course, Bruce Bochy, the manager. I mean that was the key to all this. I mean, the Rangers getting him, what a great move that was. Because I figured the Rangers were going to win the World Series when they, obviously with this matchup. I picked them. I thought they were the better team in this series coming into the series, and that was the case. And I thought you give the manager edge to the Rangers here, and that was the case. And now he's won his fourth championship. Corey Seager now his second World Series MVP. What a ride it was for them, And there were some ups and downs because that last month or so towards the end of the regular season, they definitely were struggling, and it looked like possibly they might fall out of the playoffs, with how they were struggling. But, they were, from choking the division lead to what they've done. I mean, what a run, really. They got hot at the right time. They got a great core moving forward, got a great mix of, veterans and young guys. So this is a team that should be good for a long time. And you got Bruce Bochy as the manager, so they got stability there. This team is like I said, this team should be a great team for years to come. Listen, they signing Semien and Corey Seager to those big contracts. Obviously, the first year they didn't really do much. They didn't make the playoffs or anything, but I thought what they did in the offseason before this year, getting Eovaldi, obviously getting DeGrom, but that didn't, pan out the way they hoped for it. You get Andrew Heaney, you improve the rotation. And then what they've done, with trades, trading for Aroldis Chapman, who, listen, people were like, why did they do that? And he blew some games, but guess what? When he pitched in the postseason, although there were a couple of times where Rangers fans were like holding, covering their eyes, Chapman did good in his role. And Leclerc, as closing it out, he did well outside of when Altuve hit that 3-run home run, the go-ahead home run in game 5 in Texas, the championship series. He's been solid, but getting Montgomery, getting Scherzer at the deadline. Montgomery was great in the postseason. He's going to get paid. The Rangers, they had a very good team. And, listen, you're still going to like the Astros to win the division. A lot of people probably are, even though they're looking for a manager at the moment. But this Rangers team is going to be good for years to come. They're not going anywhere. So, again, congratulations to them. And, now the baseball season is over. So, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to talk about. But we got a bunch of stuff to talk about on the show today. So, we'll continue our discussion here with the Rangers winning the World Series. Because we're going to focus next on talking about the manager and the shortstop for the Texas Rangers in the second segment. So we're going to talk about them when we come back from our first break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.